All I can say is that it can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter who you are or what background you've come from. Anybody's son, daughter, whatever can get into selling or taking.
My name's Gary. For 30 years I was addicted to crack and heroin. In 1983 I moved to Bristol, having messed up in Birmingham, and I just thought it might be a fresh start.
If you think about where Bristol is situated in terms of the country and its transportation networks, you know, it is kind of the hub of the west with routes north-south, east-west to Wales, to London. You have very good train links, you have good main roads, but one of the most important dynamics for Bristol is it has a motorway that can deliver you anonymously into the heart of the city.
Well, this feels really weird. I haven't been back here for 20 years, although I live nearby in Bristol. I moved back here in this street 20 years ago, thinking it might be a bit of a new start, and I quickly was introduced to 4 dealers in this street alone. About a year ago I started a charity called Ideal, and one of the things we decided to do was make a film, and we thought what to make the film about what I know, and that's about drug use, particularly in Bristol. I mean, there are 8,000 drug users in Bristol, and why is that? Why is it having such an impact all this time, 20 years on? Why is it having such an impact? This film is just about showing, honestly, that it's down to us. It's us who's got to do it. It's, you know, the people who live in these areas, and this film, I hope, is just a small part of demonstrating how we can start to do that.
Traditionally, the drug dealing in the inner city, and that's the Ashley Easton and Lawrence Hill parts of the wards, has been black-based, Jamaican, although changing in some ways to Somalian as well. Very visibly, as I said before, street dealing and using a number of premises. This is very, very different to the dynamics of the drugs markets elsewhere in Bristol. In my opinion, there have always been drugs markets, particularly on the estates of Knowle and Hartcliffe and Withywood, and also Southmead and Lawrence Weston. But what you don't ever see is you don't see black dealers on those streets. Those drug markets are coordinated and networked with the people who live in that local area.
You didn't use street dealing much then?
No, because I guess very quickly I was, you know, as I say, 4 dealers in the street, and in that small area, your face quickly gets known, especially as a drug user, a problematic drug user, and you're there a lot. The people are wise, they know the streets, they have lookouts, there are people watching constantly for what's going on, particularly for the police, and that your face soon gets known. I mean, where we're going now is a big crossroads, and I know that up here, even now, there's a sort of, you've got one side of the street where the sort of Jamaicans are dealing, you've got the other side where Somalians are dealing. So yeah, you could keep coming here, but eventually, hopefully, you get introduced to somebody that would say, well, don't bother going on the street, mate. Come down to my house and I'll sort you, especially if you think you've got money and you're going to be a regular customer, because they want your custom.
Generally speaking, with the open dealing and the heart of the dealing, which is the inner city, it's no longer moving. We are noticing that if you were to draw a ring around St Paul's, Easton and areas of Lawrence Hill, the drug dealing is, you know, that kind of open hub dealing is not stretching anywhere else. And there's lots of reasons for that, and there's lots of sort of complex dynamics. For example, the number of one-bedroom flats, the number of hostels, the number of drug treatment services, they're all contained, and therefore you can't move this dynamic of drug dealing anywhere else.
There was a crack house not far from here, and that was again, the where you would sometimes you have to get to know the person. It might be the tenant. It wouldn't be the dealer usually. You then meet in what they called the crack house. It was obviously somebody used to live there. It was a flat. It was somebody's home. But what used to happen was there could be several people, up to 10 at any one time. The dealer would come and deliver it. The guy would sort it all out. It was being paid to probably, and it was like you had your first smoke there, and then you went, and you go through the whole rigmarole again, and the number of different faces and similar faces you'd see. Obviously, some days I'd go and it would be, all right, all the same faces. Some days I'd go, and I'm talking about kids as young as 12 here, you know, in a crack house smoking crack, and I tell you, that is not a comfortable place to be. Not, you know, and I used to think, what if that's all he knows at 12 years old? Where are his parents, and B, what chance has he got in life? I was a lot older, fortunately, when I got into crack, but you know, a 12-year-old lad, and he just, that was his life. He just thieved some gold, come and swapped it for crack, and that's what he did. And as I say, his parents were probably in the pub, or I don't know, but it was quite an eye-opener even for me.
We've all been aware of people, they shoplift and they buy, you know, they pinch and steal things from houses to get their drug money. And people used to say, well, nothing to do with me, drugs, you know, but they were the ones that were buying the goods that the people, that the drug addicts were selling to feed their habit.
If I couldn't get anything from this area, because two areas do dry up, obviously for various reasons, and one of them is enforcement. You know, somebody may have been hit in a particular area, so it goes quiet only for a couple of days. But then I would go to places like Hartcliffe, was notorious, Southmead. It's not a street scene over there. You don't get street dealing. It's tight, sort of insular communities. And what you need, obviously, is an introduction into somebody's house. Some dealers in those areas, it was like families have been doing it for years and years. And even while, you know, doing this, I actually somebody mentioned the name of a family still dealing in Hartcliffe, and that, you know, it was the same family that I used to score off there over 20 years ago.
Most problematic drug use is related to social, economic deprivation and lack of opportunity, and that as a proportion of overall drug use, it's actually a tiny minority, and that the real way of tackling problematic drug use is actually to deal with the underlying issues. It's reallocation of finance towards poor communities, and that would also begin to deal with the problems of dealing in those communities where people are going in to what is a very lucrative business as a result of not having other opportunities. You give them something else to do, that's an exit strategy.